What's going on, everybody? So I just wanted to make this video over, so this might be a repeat if you saw the last one, but I'm gonna remove that one and redo it. As I try to say, I keep things simple, but then when I go into rambling I tend to overcomplicate things, I guess. But here it is, the Red Sea Reefer 350. The move went well. The only thing, couple of corals kind of broke a few pieces off here and there when they were in the buckets with the rock. Scattered those around a little bit, gave a few pieces away. I had kind of like a maybe a spike, but I was constantly testing the parameters and couldn't find an issue. I ended up replacing my RO buddy, which was my RODI system, to a bulk reef 5-stage system, RODI. And since doing that, things got pretty much that first week, all the corals came back to normal. Everything was looking good. The sand bed actually started getting a lot cleaner. Until, yeah, here we are today. Everything's doing good. In general, the tank's doing great. I still dose nitrates and phosphates. And I switched from Aqua Forest to Quantum supplements from Australia. If you check them out, they're on Facebook, Quantum USA. A lot easier to mix that stuff. They're very concentrated in the bottles, so I kind of dilute those into RODI water and spread the dosing throughout the 24-hour period. Everything's going great. The last video I talked about the Redfield ratio, so I'm going to try not to talk about the Redfield ratio and explain what it is, because I end up going into a rambling and kind of confuse people, and then a lot of my information is kind of iffy. So I'm just going to shoot out in general. Since dosing nitrates and phosphates that I've been going crazy on since that about 2 videos ago, everything has been growing faster than I've ever grown coral in the years of me being in the hobby. Definitely a lot of people do things different ways, but so far this is what I've been doing, and I'm gonna stick with it. And so the last video I talked about the Redfield ratio and how they talked a lot about 16:1. So I'm gonna scrap that, not talk about 16:1 nitrate phosphate ratios, and tell you just from my trial and error of dosing nitrate phosphate that it seems more to me that I go on to 100:1 ratio. So I try to shoot for, in general, 5 parts per million nitrate and 0.05 phosphate. That's what I shoot for, and that's what's worked best for me. The coloration of corals have been awesome at that. Used to dose a bunch of trace elements and all that. I don't really worry about that anymore. And just the nutrients have been keeping these corals healthy and colorful. Dosing has to do with it too, with the calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. But that's easy to keep stable once you get your dosing pumps dialed in. So with that said, I also prefer the dosing method of phosphate and nitrates. A lot of people say to put more food, but you tend to lose control of that, where you end up elevating something more than the other, and then you have to remedy that on the other end. So I rather deplete the tank of the nutrients with a good filtration system, and then manually dose the nitrates and phosphates. And I believe at 5 parts per million and 0.05 phosphates, I'm still relatively, I guess, considered an ultra low nutrient system. So in the comments down below, let me know what a dirty tank is. What is it when you get out of an ultra low nutrient system? What are the parameters there? I'd like to know that. Probably look into that a little bit more. But definitely not depriving the tank of nutrients as I used to do. I used to not test nitrate and phosphate at all and let the tank go as long as I didn't see any nuisance algae or cyanobacteria. And that's another thing. The new live rock, which was a lot of it, probably about half of it's new, is a real life rock from Carib Sea. Most of it ended up getting cyanobacteria on it, which I've completely eliminated by artificially battling it with beneficial bacteria. So I've been actually, when I get it, I try to deplete the phosphate a little bit lower, at least 0.02, and then I inject the tank with something like Biospira, and Dr. Tim's would probably work also. And doing that, that's just a method I've used. I've noticed it pretty much eliminates the cyanobacteria for me. This whole side was pretty much covered, and now it's gone. Pretty much dies off in about 2 weeks, I would say. So yeah, I try to keep everything as natural as possible. I haven't dosed any red slime go away stuff or anything like that. The only time I really dose something is probably reflux if the algae gets out of hand. But this tank has 6 turbo snails, and I found those to be the best at eliminating the hair algae, or just algae in general, out of the tank. They pretty much annihilate that stuff, and they also clean the equipment, glass. Not really the glass as much, but the sand, the rock, they pretty much destroy the algae on it, and they're constantly on the hunt for it as long as the tank and the parameters are healthy. So yeah, that is about it on that front. Lights are doing great. I've been tried a few different spectrums, but I found deep blue and high reds actually working out the best for me for the growth I've noticed. And I do a lot of trial and error. So everybody in the Prime Hydra group on Facebook loves BRS AB+, and I think it's a good program too. I've definitely seen a lot of people get a lot of benefits out of it. I've tried it for a couple weeks, and my sand bed, if you can see, started to get, it was almost white about a week ago. It started to get a lot more color on it. So, and just the growth that I witnessed with high blues and high reds was pretty good. So I ended up just going back to that and leaving it there. I'm gonna extend that. So the growth's been really good. So I'll take you a little bit closer on the shots inside the tank. So let me adjust the camera here. There we go. Torch coral still doing great as ever. I just moved around a lot of things, getting into acros a lot more, so I'm still pretty new in acros, but they've been doing really good in the tank. Haven't lost anything, not in this tank yet, knock on wood. Everything's going really good. Zoanthid's going good. Mushrooms are growing, which I've had a hard time with before. They look like they're about to start splitting some more. Acans are getting nipped on by my copper band butterfly, which I got for Aptasia. It's taking care of the Aptasia mostly, but now it's going for the acans. I got to figure out a way to feed it a lot more, or get them out of the tank. Moved around some more torches. That torch I had, the one with the green tips on it, really under rock, because the something happens to torches every once in a while. I still haven't figured it out, where the tentacles, I think it's maybe an alk shock or a light shock, where they will get really thin tentacles. And I've had this torch under the rock work tucked up back there for a good 3 months, and I just put it back out, so see how it goes. As you can see, this one kind of got it a little bit. The tentacles are just not nice and smooth like all the other ones that are doing great. So yeah, all the LPS is good, all the SPS is good. I found it pretty difficult. The mixed reef is pretty difficult, just to get those parameters right in the middle where they're all pretty happy. So yeah, that's it on the inside of the tank. I'll go ahead and switch over, show you the sump and how that's flowing. So here is the sump. excuse the wiring problem. Pretty good at problem solving, but I can't wrap my head around organizing wires for some reason. But yeah, it's fairly simple. Chaeto, protein skimmer, and UV sterilizer. I really try not to even run carbon anymore. It seems the UV sterilizer does really good at making the water clear, and then the other benefits of taking out you know, parasites and free floating bacteria blooms and or algae blooms and all that. It works out pretty well. I'm a firm believer in UV sterilizer. So yeah, Chaeto, protein skimmer, UV sterilizer. Carbon only if I see it necessary. Right now I do have a small baggie of Rophos in there. I found my phosphates were a little bit elevated, and I decided since Rophos works so good, I'm going to try it out in a little bag and see if that does the trick. I still haven't tested for that. It'd be a lot easier if I could just throw it in a bag rather than set up the reactor. So I hope that works out pretty well. Lots of Chaeto. So the Chaeto, I'd like to emphasize what I learned is not to cut most of it when you trim it down. I keep a fairly large size of it going constantly because that seems to disrupt the filtration system. If you cut 90% of it and leave just a small amount to grow out, so the more mass it has, the better it can remove the nutrients, as it's just taking it out in just a larger mass. So I hope that makes sense. That's just a 24 watt Apollo grow light from Amazon. It works and it grows my Chaeto as good as I need it to. Got these mangroves from Julian Sprung at Macna in Orlando, and so far now they're growing leaves. Yeah, so they're doing pretty good. But yeah, that's it in the sump. Again, Chaeto, skimmer, UV sterilizer, dirty pump. I don't even really like to use like filter floss or anything. That's just the kind of the mesh that came with the tank. I really like that stuff. Doesn't really fill up, catches whatever falls in there. Got lots of pods going on down here. But yeah, okay, so that is it for the sump. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna try to update you guys as much as I can. I might be disappearing a little bit, but if there's any great news or something different I learned about, I'll probably post up a video. Mainly stay on Facebook a lot, social media, posting up little videos here and there. So check out the Prime Hydra Facebook group. That's usually where I'm at. I'm the admin in there. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Tank's doing great, and hopefully it'll continue to do great. I'll just keep documenting the growth. Alright, thanks for watching.